Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Tonight's not really a shop project, it's more of a how-to, and I'll be showing you 3 ways that I use to sharpen knives. We'll start off with the most difficult and move on to the easiest, but the easiest takes the longest, which will be the little Lansky sharpener. So stick around for that one. I'll show you a couple of tricks to get this thing working to an absolute amazing edge. Without any further ado, we're going to start off with our good old oil stone. I'm just going to clamp this to the bench and then we'll take it from there. Now before we start off, when sharpening knives or any blade for that matter, make sure you keep an old rag handy. It just makes for a much less of a mess. The knife that we're going to sharpen on the oil stone is a very cheap kitchen knife that I've got. Not good steel, so I'm going to try and get an edge on this and we'll see how long it lasts. In the previous video we talked about angles. I'm not going to go into detail again about it. If you haven't seen that video, please check out here and we can go. Then there is my take on all the angles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the included angle to around about 30 degrees on this knife for the pure fact that it's not good steel, so I want to have it keep an edge as long as possible. So what you want to do is, as you start out, you need to get a angle, the sharpening angle, correct. And that's the most difficult part of using an oil stone is it's all by hand and rocking around. So if you're not comfortable and don't know the angles off by heart, really the angle's not the issue, consistency is the issue. But make yourself a little angle guide like this one, lay it on there, put your knife on there, and there we've got the basic angle that we want to go to. This is a 30-degree angle, this one is a 25, so that'll help you out a lot in the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our knife, get our angle. This is basically going to be it, and we're going to start sharpening. So what next thing you want to do, you always want to sharpen in the cutting direction. It's also listed in that other video of mine. So always sharpen into the cutting direction. It just makes for a much better edge. You start off on the edge of the stone, get your angle set and take a stroke forward. Oh, that one I hashed up. You want to try and get one full stroke on the full length of the blade. It just makes for a neater edge at the end of the day, where you don't have warping and funny connections between it. There, we've done 3. Now turn it around and go the other way. Once again, if you're not comfortable with the angle, get yourself a little angle finder, and that's the angle that we're going to use. Make sure you're comfortable, because the more comfortable you are, the more steady you'll be. And then as you get more relaxed and more sure of yourself, you can actually speed it up a bit. Rather take your time and get it right than trying to be fast and having to do it over. Always time to do it right the second time. Now you'll see, as you're sharpening the knife, you'll be giving off some of the sharpening stone onto the edge of the blade. That way you know that you are actually on the edge there. If that's not happening, you're probably rocking your blade or something like that. What I do is just my little thing. Once I want to change to the other side, I just tap it on there, get most of the oil back onto the stone, and we're ready to go in the other direction again. What you want to do is you want to sharpen your knife to, the same amount on each side, so you can get a decent edge on there that's not leaning over towards the one side. The moment you sharpen more on the one side than the other, your actual edge will start creeping over to the one side, so keep that in mind. Once you get away some, just turn your stone around. It'll keep it more flat and prevent it from getting little divots in there. Let's see how good I held an edge on there. I'm going to try and keep it as still as possible. I wasn't completely on it, but once again, I'm not that worried about the angle. I'm more worried about consistency. Once you're done, or you feel you're done, just wipe it off with your rag. Feel the edge. This is actually coming onto edge quite well. You should have a sharp knife. There we go. As you can see, it's actually not that bad. It's actually cutting here on my arm. How's that? Right, on to the next one. Next one, we'll be using our normal steel. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so you guys can see what I'm busy with. The next one we'll be sharpening is my butcher's knife. So we'll be using the steel. I'm not going to spend hours and hours. I use this fairly often. Basically every day, so I'm not going to spend hours sharpening it. Let's see what edge we can get on it. Same story applies. Get yourself into a comfortable position, get to that edge where you want to be, and once again sharpen into the cutting direction. This takes a bit of getting used to, but as soon as you've got a comfortable position, it actually comes sort of naturally. And once again, once you're done, just wipe it off. This is actually not as full of oil and stuff, actually no oil on there. But once you're done with that, you can actually get a super edge on it. In terms of sharpness for everyday use, this is what you want to go to. By no means this takes second place to the oil stone. It's actually just as sharp. So now we've got two sharp knives. Now the third one, and this is the most, I won't say the easiest one, but it takes the longest. But if you hash up a few basic concepts, you won't get an edge from a Lansky. Lansky, I know, it's my favorite. It's my absolute go-to for really good edges. We'll be sharpening my little hunting knife today on the Lansky. I can validate spending the time with a Lansky on this because I only use it when I go out hunting in winter. I cannot validate sharpening this knife, my butcher's knife, on a Lansky. It'll just take me forever. So get a system that works for what you want to do, and get a few systems like I have. Some knives I do on the oil stone, some I do with the steel, and then for the specialist work I use my little Lansky sharpener. I've had this for years and years. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put some masking tape on the back of this knife. What happens is once you clamp the knife down, I've had it previously where there's some dirt and grime and stuff in there, and it actually mars the blade of the knife. So just a little piece of masking tape, that's more than enough. Stick it on the backbone of the knife and just fold it over. That's more than enough to not put marks on your blade. What you want to do then is you want to get the blade to sit on those two little lips that are in there. I don't know if you can see it. So turn out the tightening screw out and then get it to fit your knife. So as soon as you slip your knife onto the little grooves that are left in the clamp, I think I must open this up a bit. You'll see that it goes and sits there, and that gap between the in the middle of the clamp is not parallel. So what you want to do is you want to set your front set screw that once you start tightening this down, you want to keep as parallel as possible. Now you see there I went over it, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back this off again, tighten this maybe half a turn, one third of a turn, and start opening it up again and clamping it down. Now that's about it. You can see you almost parallel between the clamp, and now we can start doing it. That's the first portion, is getting the clamp set up correctly. Second step, don't take off the clamp while you're working. Finish off the sharpening of the knife before you take the clamp off. It just creates a more consistent edge, and you will actually be able to get an edge. The third point, and that's probably the most important one, and that a lot of guys don't do, and that's why they don't get good edges on a Lansky sharpener, is once you insert the guide rod, make sure that the front of the guide rod actually lines up with the sharpening stone. So what, plain and simple, easy, put both of them on the table, press both of them down and tighten it up. There you can see there's a good line between the front of the sharpening stone and the guide rod. What we can do is we can quickly see if we've got a straight edge here, and you can see it actually fits fairly well into there. This stone is a bit hollowed out. I've had this for years. I'll still grind this back to a straight edge, and then you're there. Now you can decide on what angle you want to sharpen your knife. I don't know if you can see there. There we go. Once again, the angle's not that important. It's the consistency, and this is the most consistent sharpening angle that I've ever come across. Like I said, it takes a bit of time, but for decent edges and decent knives, definitely. I don't know if it's placebo effect. I always sharpen this hunting knife of mine to a 30-degree angle. Sometimes you're skinning thick-skinned stuff, sometimes not. So I can't really tell you the one edge lasts longer than the other. But just for my peace of mind, I always sharpen this knife to a 30-degree angle. Once you've got the primary edge on there with a coarse stone, you can move up to the finer stones, which is normally what I do. I just use the fine and the extra fine. But for this video, I'll show you the coarse stones as well. So then, now that you've decided your angle, just put 2 little drops of oil on there. Don't need to soak the whole thing. Rub it in a bit. Once again, your rag close by. Put it in the required angle. And what you want to do is also, once again, sharpen in the direction of cutting. Now you won't be able to get a full stroke on here, so you can sort of do a couple of strokes getting through the blade. It's not a big deal, just make sure that you stay consistent. And then swap it around and do the other side. Now this is a bit tedious and takes a long time. I'm not going to talk you right through it. I'm going to speed this up, but you'll see how I go about it. So once you're done with the first stone and you're happy with that, just wipe it off and get it back into the box, and then we go on to the next one. I'm going to speed this up so it's not that boring. We'll talk when we're done. And there we go. Now we can just put everything back in its place, and it's ready to run another day. Now, I don't know if you noticed on the previous section of the video, I wipe the blade off every time before I change the stone. You don't want the grit of the coarser stone to sit on the blade and then hash up your finer stone. Here you can actually see the marks of the clamp itself. So the little piece of masking tape did its job well. No marks on there. Everything's good. So just wipe it off. Bit of soap and water to get rid of the oil. And I don't know if you would be able to see here, an absolute immaculate edge on this knife. this is scary sharp. So in conclusion, this is definitely the best edge that I can manage on a knife, but it also takes the longest, as you saw. Between the oil stone and the steel, no difference. It's 6s and 7s. One is faster than the other. I can't say that the steel gives you a worse edge than an oil stone. Once again, the angle, I can't stress it enough. The angle is far down the line compared to consistency. This, as you could see from the clamp, it keeps an absolute consistent edge, and it shows at the end of the day. This is the 3 methods that I use to sharpen 99% of my knives, or blades rather, and I can't fault any of one of them. They've all got their place. I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. As always, if you liked what you saw, please subscribe, ring the bell, comment if you want to see something else. I always enjoy getting comments of people wanting to see something that I can maybe shed some light on. And as always, stay safe.